Good morning, everyone. I think I owe you guys a little bit of positivity because I've been on that negativity for the last couple days when it comes to the Seahawks for the most part because I I got to be honest, I was pretty glass half empty after that Packers game was over. And I've been glass half empty ever since, and I still kind of am, and I don't think you can really blame me. We got our franchise quarterback back and got blanked for the first time in, I think it's been over 10 years, 10 calendar years. So I I definitely got caught up in that half of the game. The half of the game where your offense can't put a single point on the board. So there is another half to the game. And I wanted to take a video to talk about that because right now, with all the stuff swirling about Russell Wilson and Shane Waldron and DK Metcalf, and you could go down the list. You could talk about Dwayne Brown. You could talk about maybe Tyler Lockett. Whichever offense related player or coach that you want to bring up with the Seahawks right now, there's probably some degree of controversy going on there. So I want to take some time to talk about the defense and maybe, just maybe, admit that I may have been jumping the gun on something. Now, I'm not convinced that I was. I'm still not convinced that this perspective is necessarily correct, but right now I have to admit it has a lot of credibility. So you guys know I really like Matty F. Brown on Twitter. He's a Seahawks fan. He follows the Seahawks. He does a lot of great film work with them, does a lot of great analysis with them. Well, I frequently go to Matty F. Brown to digest his takes, and I don't agree with everything he says, but I gotta say, I think he may have gotten this one right. So here's a tweet from him recently about the Seahawks and their defense. The Seahawks have become a heavy, too high, disguised safety rotation team that is executing to an incredibly high standard. Ken Norton Jr. has schemed up the perfect stuff for his coverage talent, regularly putting them in positions to succeed while beating opponent indicators. So, long story short, what Matty F. Brown is trying to say here is that Ken Norton Jr. is doing an amazing job as a defensive coordinator right now. I'm going to repeat that. According to Matty F. Brown, Ken Norton Jr. is doing an amazing job coaching this defense right now. And in terms of just raw result, this is certainly a defensible stance. The Seahawks have put together 4 straight games of effective play on defense, culminating with, by the way, an A-plus performance against the Packers. Could not have asked for much more than we got against Green Bay. So I like to think of myself as an open-minded person. So when I see somebody who I know is knowledgeable say something like this, and I see the results start to turn in a positive direction, I'm willing to revisit. And I'm not going to go over all the stuff, but I highly recommend you go check out Matty F. Brown on Twitter, read some of the stuff he's been posting. He goes into detail on why he thinks that Ken Norton Jr. is doing an awesome job. Now, people like me have wanted Ken Norton out since 2019 because the defense was bad in 2019. It was bad for most of 2020. We wanted him out then. We wanted him out then. We wanted him out probably 100 different times over the last couple years. Kind of got it together at the end of the season last year. And then you come out this year, you lay some eggs, you don't look that good, you got problems, and it looked like we were back to the same old Ken Norton crap. But revisiting things, maybe we were being a little impatient. I don't know if I buy that. For me, I still go back to the start of this season, where you got most of your players back from last year. You got most of your players back. You got most, if not all, of your coaches back from last year. You got to use the same scheme. You got to use the same stuff you came up with last year that worked. And I'm watching the defense go out there and look, I can't completely hang them out to dry for the Titans game, but they definitely gave up some stuff at the end. The Vikings game, most pathetic defensive performance I've ever seen under Carroll. Rams game, second half, 450 yards, 4 straight games of 450 yards plus. I don't know if I was I don't know if I was being impatient. To me, I still look at that and I go, why did it take you guys 5 games to actually start playing good? Okay? I can understand the offense taking time, and we might talk about the offense later. Why is the defense taking 5? Why does the defense have to play 4 crap games, or, well, not crap games, but less than good games in the first 5 games, and then they get it together? All these guys have been here before. You didn't have any major injuries. You didn't lose any major players. So that part of it, I don't know. But we're here now, and we genuinely have a defense that is playing good football. So I'm trying to reevaluate this Ken Norton stuff. I may have missed on this one, guys. I don't know. But I wanted to look at some stuff from that Packers game because obviously it was the best defensive performance the Seahawks have had in some time. And I wanted to highlight a couple of players and a couple things that I saw that I really liked to kind of build on this point from Matty F. Brown, because obviously he can say it all he wants to. But the reality is Matty F. Brown was defending the Seahawks defense a month and a half ago. You can go back on his Twitter feed. He was saying, I think this defense is really good. I think Ken Norton's doing a great job, and the players are just not executing. I think the players are to blame, and Ken Norton's fine. And when he was saying those things, when we were giving up 450 yards to the Niners and the Vikings, I was like, okay, I might have to click the unfollow button. But as of right now, it needs to be reevaluated. So I was looking at some of the Trey Brown stuff from the game. So I took, not a screenshot, but I just wanted to show some still images from that Packers game to highlight some of the stuff that might be coming together for this defense. This is the 4th and 2 play with a minute left in the second quarter, and I just really was impressed by this, so I wanted to take a moment to highlight it in this video. You can see Aaron Rodgers back here winding up to throw the ball. He's in his windup, and this is how much separation there is between the receiver. I think this is Allen Lazard and Trey Brown, 5-6 yards away. And Aaron Rodgers is already winding up. This looks like an easy completion for a first down to keep the drive going. And this was probably the best play that Trey Brown made on Sunday. He closes that distance by the time the ball gets there. The point of this screenshot, the ball has just gotten to Allen Lazard's hands, and Brown's right on top of him. Now, is he lucky that Lazard dropped it? A little bit, but he certainly forced that drop. He forced that incompletion. And this is the kind of stuff that you didn't get from Trey Flowers. I don't hate Trey Flowers like some of y'all do, but you weren't seeing this kind of stuff from Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers would have just given up this completion, probably made the tackle and say, hey, I held him to 4 yards, but it's still a first down. So this is one of the things you're seeing now from both corners, I think, now that we have Trey Brown out there and now that DJ Reed's back on the right side of the defense for him. So this is the first thing that I really wanted to highlight. The second thing is Jordan Brooks. He's another one of the young guys who played pretty well against the Packers on Sunday. And again, I kind of have some still images here. I'm not going to play video because the NFL will hunt me down and kill me if I do. But this is a 3rd and 1 play. This was a big play early in the game. Packers are going to run the ball out of shotgun to try to pick up this 1-yard first down. And take a look at this just a second later. A couple things happen here. For one, the running back just got the ball, and Jordan Brooks is already at the first down marker, bursting in to make this play on the running back. And what allows this to happen is Poona Ford drawing a double team. You can see a Packers offensive lineman right here on the ground, and you can see this one trying to block him. He's still actually pushing into the backfield despite the double team. This allows Jordan Brooks to run into the backfield free and get a tackle for loss that would lead to a punt. So that's another really good play by a young player on this defense helping turn things around. And we're not done with the Jordan Brooks stuff quite yet either. I want to take a look at this play. This is just going to be this one image from early in the 3rd quarter. Jordan Brooks down the field. This is about, 25 to 30 yards from downfield from the line of scrimmage. He is covering a wide receiver step for step down the field. This is Allen Lazard. And I'm not saying I want linebackers to be covering receivers down the field like this all the time, but Jordan Brooks' big knock coming out of college was the fact that he wasn't good in coverage. So seeing things like this that tell me that, hey, maybe there's a little something that can be done about that, it's encouraging. I like it. So this was a big play made in coverage by the Seahawks defense early in the third quarter. This ended up being an incomplete pass. You can see the ball coming in right about here. And when I saw this play, other than thinking, why are we covering wide receivers with linebackers, I was also kind of thinking to myself, hey, he went into the trial by fire and he held up, man. So I like that. Final little image I want to go over here is from the first Packers drive of the game, because something happened on this play that I normally hate, but really I only hate it because it seems like it never works well when we do it. But this is something that actually worked quite a few times against the Packers in that game, and I need to point it out because I'm always pointing it out when we don't do it, when we do it and it doesn't work. So I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but the Seahawks have 3 players rushing Aaron Rodgers on this play. Um, Carlos Dunlap is right here. He's right here where my mouse is. Carlos Dunlap dropped back into coverage. We have Rasheem Green. I think this is Al Woods, and not 100% sure who this was, but we've got 3 players rushing Rodgers. We dropped 8, and I want to highlight this because it actually worked. I don't know if it just took 2 months for this defense to start to figure this stuff out, but we dropped a defensive lineman into coverage, and look at this. Rodgers is looking in this direction. He was probably trying to find a check down over here to make this a more manageable third down, but Carlos Dunlap drops back into his area, this area, so Rodgers doesn't feel comfortable throwing it to, I think this is Robert Tonyan. He was initially looking at Adams, but Wagner was hanging around over here, so he didn't feel comfortable making that throw. It made sense. It actually worked. We actually found a way to drop a lineman into coverage, and it worked. So these are all positive signs from this defense, and I got to take a little bit of time to call it out, because I love calling it out when they're not doing their job. So got to be fair, right? But hey, maybe, just maybe, I was wrong about Ken Norton Jr. Maybe he's just a late bloomer, but I will give him credit where credit is due. It seems like this defense is doing some pretty good things right now in schematics and in terms of utilizing their players. And I never in a million years thought that I would say that about a Seahawks team in this decade. It's we'll see where it goes for the rest of the season, but this was legit. This game against the Packers on the road, good offense. It was real. I know Rodgers was coming off COVID. I know that they don't have the deepest receiver stable in the league. I know these things, but that's a good offense. That's a legitimate team with a good quarterback, and you went blow for as long as you could, and then you ran out of gas at the end because, quite frankly, your offense couldn't support you. All right, so there are probably a few more plays I could go over, but those are a few plays that really stuck out to me when thinking back on this game on the defense. Signs that not only are some of our players starting to play a little better, but also that the players are being used in a way that makes a little more sense. And some of the things we do that are maybe not exactly, how should I put this, ordinary, are actually starting to pay dividends. It's not like earlier this season when we kept dropping defensive linemen into coverage and the offense would make a big play. Now it's actually preventing the plays. See you guys later. Go Hawks. There's my positivity. That's what I got.